So, Alibaba has finally caved. I believe for all you loyal supporters of this channel have already known, I did put out a video around 1 week ago stating that it's Alibaba donating to China's common prosperity. And this got a good 5,000 views, which I'm extremely thankful for. I don't even know why so many of you are so interested in understanding my opinion, and I'm just a random guy on the internet. But anyway, the entire agenda of making that video in particular was initially grounded on the fact that, hey, Tencent Holdings, which is China's biggest tech company, did make a $100 billion yuan donation. And I was really just speculating on what Alibaba would do. So I did mention in the video, for those of you who haven't checked it out, please go and watch the video. I did say that Alibaba in this case would probably not one-up Tencent because it is not in their benefit to say that I would donate 150 billion or 200 billion dollars yuan instead, so that they can get the glory or tell people that, hey, I'm better than Tencent. I think they're not in the business in trying to impress investors or try to impress the government, which was kind of in line with what I expected. And in this case, Alibaba caved. They also donated $100 billion yuan. So in this video, I'll be discussing extensively about what I think as an investor and what I postulate and really address some of the main concerns that all you investors out there have. So before I start, I did create a Discord channel for all you bulls and bears of Alibaba. So the entire objective of the channel is really to pull together resources and to establish an entire network effect surrounding the entire company itself. So if you're interested, please click in the link in the description box down below to join. On top of that, I've also left my referral link for both Tiger and Moomoo brokers. Essentially, I do all my investing on both brokerage platforms. So right now, they actually do run a lot of aggressive promotions and you can get free Apple shares. So feel free to use my referral link in the description box down below. With that, let's get right into today's topic. So I would also like to address 3 critical points before I go into the article and statement proper about what is Alibaba's position in this entire donation issue and helping China achieve their common prosperity. So I think because this article and this news broke out quite some time back, I mean it was around 1 week ago, but because as you all know, 1 week in the investment world is like 1 year in my life. It has never been this exciting. But ultimately, I think I would have to address these 3 critical points which was constantly mentioned in the comment section, in the Discord channel, and etc. etc. So firstly, like the name suggests, I believe that this number was definitely a consensus that was agreed upon by the Alibaba's management team and the board ultimately on how much to actually contribute to this common prosperity push. And I would just like to say that do not fall into the trap of using blanket statements of saying that, hey, the Chinese government is taking full control of the company, it's definitely uninvestable. Really take the time and really reflect in what you're saying and what you have been talking about, because to me, it really doesn't make sense. The government relies on the company because ultimately the entire goal of the government in any country is to collect taxes, and they will definitely want all these different companies to prosper because the more you earn, the more I can tax from you. So in this case of a China's common prosperity push, I will really discuss a little bit further in the article itself because the management team do take a very public stance in where they stand on this entire donation problem. The second critical issue is the valuation of Alibaba Group itself. And I will not belabor the point. I think 15.5 billion is definitely not a small number. We will be looking at the numbers in a short while later in this video, and I'll also be discussing about how I intend to value Alibaba moving forward. And last but not least, I think it's the ongoing worries and the ongoing concern by a lot of all these investors out there in how are we supposed to evaluate Alibaba's business moving forward, because 15.5 billion in 5 years, that's 3 billion per year. And are we supposed to deduct 3 billion from their free cash flow, from their operating cash flow? And how do we account for this entire situation? So let's just put our focus in Alibaba's public statement and public position on this donation regime and how they intend to contribute to China's prosperity. Now, Alibaba Group has committed renminbi 100 billion, which is equivalent to US 15.5 billion, to finance 10 initiatives promoting common prosperity in China, supporting a nationwide push towards a fairer society. So I believe some of you actually do follow this personality on Twitter, which is called Rui Ma. And she did point out a very critical fact that, hey, we shouldn't be looking at this as pure donations. They're not, Tencent or Alibaba in this case, is not taking up the money from their corporations in their bank accounts or whatever and donating it to the Chinese Communist Party and allowing them to do whatever they want with the money. Essentially speaking, what the both companies have done is really just pledged $100 billion. They can then see through all these different initiatives and take up all these different suggestions by the government or by different people or different entrepreneurs with a main goal of trying to lift people up and try to achieve a common prosperity for China. So you can see them as investing in different projects, but ultimately these projects are still handpicked and chosen by the company. But you can also see it as a donation, because I would believe most of this initiative would not increase their economic moat, but ultimately just improve China by and large. So in this case, I would just like to caution all you internet trolls out there saying that, they're just funding the CCP regime. They're just trying to whitewash corruption. I think if you do have evidence, please do show them. If not, these blanket statements really do not have a point in them. Next, the task force will focus on technology innovation, economic development, creating high quality jobs, care for vulnerable groups, as well as launching a renminbi 20 billion Common Prosperity Development Fund that will help cut income inequality in Alibaba's home province of Zhejiang. So, like I said, they really do focus on a few key strategic areas, and these areas are different from Tencent's one, by the way. For those of you who missed out on what I described about in Tencent's focus, please look at the donation video. But I think ultimately what they're really trying to focus on, what they're trying to do, is really solve some of this fundamental problem in the Chinese economy. So Zhang, which is the CEO of Alibaba, said that Alibaba is a beneficiary of a strong social and economic progress in China over the past 22 years. We firmly believe that if society is doing well and the economy is doing well, then Alibaba will do well. And I think this is something that's so understated in all the different medias or people that are discussing even in my Discord channel. You have to understand that a Chinese prosperity or a common prosperity goal, lifting up more people into the middle income group and trying to enhance and broaden the entire middle class, is really a core pillar in my strategy in investing in China, and in particular investing in Alibaba. So whatever they are currently doing, and even like Tencent donating in a lot of all these different initiatives, is just feeding back into my entire rhetoric, and it's playing out to my investment thesis. So for those of you who do not agree, sure, please have your own investment thesis. And for all these different concrete steps taken by the government and corporates alike, really feed back into my entire narrative and really feed back into my investment thesis. So it really hasn't been a better time to be alive, to be honest. But that's just my own viewpoint. You can listen to it, you can just disregard it, but ultimately investing is a personal journey. Next, Alibaba will also help less developed areas digitalize public infrastructure and community services. It also plans to roll out more healthcare services on the cloud, tapping digital technologies to bring urban medical resources to more people. It will also fund the development of green tech and programs to cultivate technical talent and make more patented innovation widely available to the public. I think this is kind of in line with what the Chinese government wants to do, and I think like a lot of you guys know, EV and green tech is the next in thing, and it's a global problem, and China has also been committed in trying to achieve carbon neutrality and trying to be a lot more greener as a country. So a lot of all this innovation is in line with what the CCP or what the government wishes to achieve for China in particular. Next, over the next 5 years, the company also pledged to create more highly skilled jobs across its ecosystem, from vocational training for those seeking employments to initiatives supporting young entrepreneurs who want to start businesses in their home villages. Part of its commitment will be to improve the welfare of gig economy workers, such as food delivery riders, couriers, and ride-hail drivers, including everything from insurance coverage for occupational accident to personal development training courses. And I would just like to highlight this issue. I think they are really taking a punch at Meituan because they recently just got exposed, or sexposed I would say, in terms of trying to underpay, trying to undercover, and trying to exploit workers in this case. So I think this is also definitely in the government's radar in trying to improve people's well-being and ensure that people are being well taken care of. And usually in this case, I don't think that they have a proper union in place to help fight for the rights of the people. So Alibaba also said that it will continue to roll out more flexible, digitally enabled forms of employment, such as its cloud customer support project, which has hired more than 10,000 customer service staff with disabilities from across China. So I think after understanding the entire development of how they intend to spend the money, and it definitely seems extremely sensible, and more importantly, extremely aligned with the Chinese Communist Party. So that's not something that I'm afraid of. But I would just like to say that as an Alibaba shareholder, I touched my heart, and I honestly felt that 100 billion is a little bit of a overhaul. Because if you were to really compare Tencent and Alibaba, if you were to really look at the net income of both companies, right now Tencent is doing around 29 billion US dollars in net income, and Alibaba Group is only doing around $23 billion in net income. So I know a lot of people like to compare Tencent and Alibaba, saying that they are the two biggest giants of China. But I would just like to say that if we remain objective and you look at the numbers, Tencent, before the crackdown, by market cap, is still around $100 billion bigger than Alibaba. And by net income, they are also earning a few $billion more than Alibaba. So honestly speaking, if Alibaba were to donate lesser, I think the CCP will be understanding and investors will also be understanding. But of course, I understand that in the game of politics and in the game of investment, illusion plays a very big part. So if Tencent donates $100 billion and if Alibaba is able to match it, it really creates this illusion that Alibaba is as big as Tencent. So maybe they might demand a bigger market cap. Who knows? But I think ultimately, if Alibaba do pledge a smaller amount, like 75 billion for example, they will probably be able to get away with it. But honestly speaking, $100 billion, I'm not going to fault them for that because they probably do have the ability to pay up and try to enhance the entire situation and be aligned with the CCP and try to get back to the good books of the government. But honestly, like I said, the entire narrative is feeding back into my investment thesis on why I invest in China and why I invest in Alibaba. For those of you who are first timers, you can watch the Once and For All video, which I talk about Alibaba and my entire investment thesis. Next, let's look at how this entire 15.5 billion donation in terms of USD is going to affect our valuation of Alibaba. So for those of you who haven't watched my DCF calculation, I did leave the link in the DCF calculation video. You can go ahead and watch. But like I said, things have been playing out. I think even the share price of Alibaba right now is at $180. So there really is a huge amount of upside. But anyway, $15.5 billion across a 5-year period, that's around a $3 billion reduction or $3 billion recalculation. And like I said, this entire calculation was done in 2021 after the earnings report, and 31 billion was their free cash flow. So if we were to remove 3 billion from the entire calculation, so let's round it to a nice number, that's around 28,000. Right now, even at a 28,000 valuation, and as you can see, my entire DCF model gave me a new calculation, and we still have a 36% margin of safety. Really look at the current market valuation and take into account your worst case scenario. Let's say a 3 billion reduction in free cash flow for the next 5 years or so. Look at the current valuation and make your own investment decision. I'm not your investment advisor and I don't manage your money for you. So you do your own calculation and you build your own conviction. I'm not here to teach you what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. So with that in mind, I think there really is a rising concern in understanding, hey, what kind of framework is Alibaba Group going to adopt and how are they supposed to donate moving forward? So right now, the pledging of the $15.5 billion USD is really for the common prosperity push. What if in 1 year or 2 years, CCP suddenly comes up with a new agenda and it starts soliciting for new donations? Or who knows, the CCP might even push for even more donations from all these different corporate billionaires or all these different corporate entities. What's going to happen? Honestly speaking, I would really believe that the senior management of the CCP is not dumb. Alibaba Group's senior management are probably not dumb as well. They know how to balance shareholders' wealth and shareholders' prosperity with government's agenda. They're not out there to really siphon money out of the US investors or from you and me. A win-win situation will probably be able to be conceived because the government knows that they need the corporates to continue employing people, to continue earn even more money, and the corporate entities also know that they need the help of the government to foster a good environment for intellectual property rights, for regulations, and to ensure that there's fair competition. So I believe that it is definitely in a win-win situation right now as they continuously push the different government agenda. For me, despite all the fear-mongering headlines and a lot of all these negative news sentiments and negative investor sentiments being reinforced in the entire market itself, I've never been more excited and I've never been more confident. With that in mind, please leave in the comment section down below if you do share a different opinion and what do you think of this entire development in China itself. I'll see you in the next video, but more importantly, I'll see you on the moon. Goodbye!